It's a Friday, baby. It's a Friday with Bears news. Y'all already know what that means. That means it's a good Friday, baby. What's good? It's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love to another edition of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Chicago Bears make a couple of cuts today that starts to set them up in the right direction, as they are just under $80 million after cuts. Are they setting up for a massive offseason? We'll talk about all that and more on today's episode. Got to talk about Ian Cunningham being here as well. All that and more on today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Love vibing with y'all on a Friday, man. A little bit later than normal on this news, but yeah, I mean, had to take moms out to lunch. Of course, the day I'm like, let's go out to lunch. We'll hang out. We'll do all this. That's the day that news breaks. But hey, the date is still 2/21/2025. It's 6:02 in the afternoon. And you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen. Pour yourself a drink. Have yourself a day. Let's go. Big vibes. Oh, yeah. We live. Oh, yeah, that's Pat Design. You know he loses mind. Having time, having fun. Yeah, you know I am the one. Yeah, you know the Tommy gun. Big bang. We game. Yeah, you know we got the game. Bed down, that's what we say. Yeah, let me stop playing with these ones out here, man. Oh, let me get the... We got something coming for you with the music tip, too. Stay tapped in with us on the music tip, man. We got something coming on the music tip. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love to another edition of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. I need y'all go ahead and do me a favor real quick and
Come on. Push the button. Come on. Push the button. Come on, push the button.
Yeah, come on, push the button.
You heard what she said.
y'all heard what Sue Young said. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, man. Leave that 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Let's get to the news of the day. I mean, listen, a lot of news today for the Chicago Bears right now. As they're already in the video, we are over 100 in the chat. No. Started off here. Chicago Bears cut Gerald, Everett, and DeMarcus Walker today. And this is the interesting news of today because the Chicago Bears are now close to $80 million in dollars after the cap cuts. They created a off-season expense of 10.75 against the cap, saving that against the cap by releasing both Everett and DeMarcus Walker, adding more money to the books. And the question on the table today, are the Bears setting up for a massive off-season here? Listen, we have heard right through from Kevin Warren, essentially from our season ticket holders who are in the audience. A lot of people have sent that letter out. I've had this letter sent to me by people who buy season tickets from the Bears, and basically saying, listen, we're not going to sit on our hands this offseason. We are not going to not go out and make the big moves, not try to get the best people to come here. The real question is, are the Bears going to be able to do it? I love the fact that they're positioning themselves this way. I think that the Gerald Everett move is the easiest of the two to talk about, right? Because realistically, Gerald Everett got paid $6 million for 36 yards of production and like 8 catches. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a tough sell to keep him around on the roster. But the big part about it was he utilized right? Was he put in the best position? What can Gerald Everett be? And I fully expect Gerald Everett to go to another team and still be a good football player. I fully expect Gerald Everett to all of a sudden have this magic resurgence. Just he's been asleep for a year. Just, I'm back. I'm ready to play football. I fully expect him to have that happen when he leaves here. And people are going to be like, oh my God, how could we not see this from Gerald Everett? But your goal is to create as much cap as possible so that you can go out there and be in the market for some of these big name guys. I love the fact that the Chicago Bears are putting themselves in this position. The D-Walk one is a little bit tougher. First off, me and D-Walk, that was a guy who you looked for in the locker room, I should say. Love the energy of DeMarcus Walker. Love DeMarcus Walker at training camp. He was somebody who, anytime that we had a conversation together, it was always a high energy conversation. Loved what he brought to the team. But realistically, he didn't get the job done enough for him to be a part of this team moving forward. And I think this means that you're trying to set up for a big splash, because here's what I will say about D-Walk. While he wasn't great, he was impactful. He was somebody who, as a rotational piece, did impact the game. He was somebody who could play inside and outside, gave the Bears that versatility. So I don't think that his time here was a waste, and I hope that he plays very well on the next team that he goes to. But in the long run of things, right, if you're telling me that I can replace him with a big name defensive end, with a Josh Sweat, who, yeah, he's more so on the outside, but you know the kind of impact you're going to get from him, I think it's a no-brainer to go after a guy like that. And I'm happy that this Bears team is looking to do that. And listen, there's some guys out there who just make sense for the Bears. The more I look into the Keenan Allen, and listen, y'all know how I said it on the Chicago Bears podcast today. I said it on, I've said it multiple times. I'm all in on going to get Myles Garrett if Myles Garrett is really available. Go find a way to get him onto the team. By the way, over 200. Go find a way to get him on the team if you can. But the more you dig into the Khalil Mack story, it just makes sense. Coached by Dennis Allen, spent time here in Chicago, had some good, had a playoff berth here in Chicago. Dare I say one of his 2 playoff berths? Has he only been to the playoff twice? Somebody fact check me on that. But I believe he's only been to the playoffs twice. And one time here in Chicago. Now things are getting right. You know he fits Dennis Allen's scheme. You know Dennis Allen knows how to utilize the player that he is. Opposite Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat still can be the number one, and you have that elite number 2 guy coming in Khalil Mack. I wouldn't be mad at the conversation if Mack was back here in Chicago. Again, it's just something that makes sense. You tell me you went from DeMarcus Walker to a Khalil Mack. I think that is the kind of upgrade that you want to see your team make on a consistent basis. That is a upgrade, even in his older age, even if this is the last couple of years of his career. You know what Khalil Mack brings, and also he's been much more healthy in his time in LA than he was here in Chicago. So hopefully you're able to get him here. Hopefully you're able to find somebody, not him, but find somebody here who can fit that long-term piece. To me, Khalil Mack is a nice bridge piece. If you draft somebody like a Mike Green in the first round, or you draft somebody like a Prince Uman Mailen, right? In that second round, right? Like those are guys where, hey, we want you in here. And to me, Uman Mailen's biggest question mark is the motor to me, right? I feel like he doesn't get off every play. Or dare I say, right? What if you take a James Pierce? You trade back and take a James Pierce. James Pierce fits all of the question marks, but he kind of feels like that other guy sometimes in the lineup at Tennessee, right? He feels like he's the guy that allows his teammates to make plays because everyone's focusing on him. Khalil Mack understands that perfectly. Khalil Mack understands that role perfectly. So I think that there is some conversation to have there, but at a minimum, you're opening up the money to me for the offensive side of the ball. You're going to take the biggest swing that you can at a guy like Trey Smith. You're going to take the biggest swing that you can at a guy like Drew Dahlman. Don't be surprised if opening day of free agency, you see the Chicago Bears going out there trying to get the best piece right away. I think that would just make a heck of a lot of sense for this team. And hopefully, it all works out in the long run. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments as well. Who we got in the comments, man? Timothy L. King out here with the bear down. We got money to blow. Oh, get out of here, dog. With that, Alex Houston out here. Pat with the consistency. Ricardo the realtor. All right, man. Shout out to Ricardo, man. Every now and then I might need a crib, bro. You know what I mean? Shout out Mom's Designer. Shout out Baki in the building, man. Say Shy City said, need to give Ian Cunningham some fashion tips. Maybe it will help him get the GM job. Shaking my head, need those thirds. Hey, bro, listen. At this point, I'm almost, listen, as a Bears fan, and we'll talk about Ian more, right? As a Bears fan, I want the thirds, but I don't want Ian to go to a failing situation. When I heard Duval, I was like, all right, bro. Yep, just keep him here. Don't worry about that. Baki said, here's the problem, Pat, with the Khalil Mack rumor. Jason Lockenforth said it, and he has always been wrong on any story involving the Bears. Yeah, you can almost guarantee that it's not going to happen now. But the conversation around Khalil Mack, I think, is a valid one. I think it's a logical one. But yeah, when Lockenforth gets on that, gets to talking about the Bears, it is usually almost a guarantee that it is not going to happen. You know what I mean? I don't know who his sources are inside Chicago, but at this point, it's got to be like a running joke that, hey, tell him the wrong information. This guy will say anything, and I mean anything, if you put it on the teleprompter. Papa Beams in here on the Twitter side with the bear down. Shout out Papa Beams, man. They got a guy with potential on the line still. Are you talking about Austin Booker in there? Listen, I think there's here's the big thing for the Bears, right? It is about finding the guys who are the big name guys, but it is about developing those guys as well. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. If you're this Bears team right now, you got to develop young pieces. You've drafted a ton of guys who you want to throw into that lineup. What does Dennis Allen do for Javon Dexter? What does he do for Zach Pickens? What does he do for Austin Booker? Austin Booker is a 5th round pick, right? 5th or 6th? Was he a 6th round pick? I think it was a 6th round pick. Austin Booker being a little bit of a later pick, but like to me, the conversation around going out and getting these young guys doesn't make sense if you're not able to develop them. That's what it all comes down to. Bugbag said, what a name. He said, hey, Pat, stop forgetting about the YouTube watchers because we watch the show too, not just the chat. I don't know what that means. What do you mean? Are you saying don't forget about the people just watching the show? I love all y'all, first off. Shout out to y'all. And I haven't forgotten any of y'all, but it is easier to interact with people that interact with me. But I appreciate you for watching the show if that's all you're doing is watching. Say Shy City said they think they sign a defensive end vet and draft 1-2 seems like, yeah, I could see that. That seems like a logical conversation to me right now with where you kind of expect this team to go. I think that you are setting yourself up to go out after a big name defensive end. And again, listen, I had the conversation on how the cap works. I had the conversation on kind of where this cap is going to go. You can make dumb moves right now. You can make, and it sounds crazy to say, right? But you can make moves that money-wise will not make sense right now. You can make moves that money-wise will not make sense right now. But in 5 years, if you get guys to agree to back-end deals and stuff like that, they will make perfect sense. You want to know why? Because then if I'm spending $30 million on you in 2030 when the cap is $350-60 million, now all of a sudden it feels like I'm spending $20 million like I would today. But those numbers would be very interesting. Now, the biggest question for the Bears right now is how many more guys end up being cap casualties, how many more guys end up being cap cuts. I like the fact that we're at about $80 million. It makes sense that you've put yourself in this position right here. But the question is, how many guys will you move on from to try and create as much cap space as possible? And here's the thing, all the names that are up for cap cuts, right? All the guys who are post June 1st cuts, or all the guys that to me are, you know, the ones that you have to look at and say, we like you as a player, we don't love you as a player, right? The Kevin Byards. And I know the conversation around Byard. There's no way that we would ever move on from Kevin Byard. Why would we move on from Kevin Byard? You want to know why? Because there's a possibility that you can get a big 3 in here in free agency in the trenches. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. I'm not saying you should. But if we're talking about taking advantage of the salary cap right now, you have that opportunity. I know a lot of people are all in on the Cole Kmet, but if it came down to, right, listen, you've moved on from Gerald Everett, you've moved on from D-Walk. Ryan Bates still saves you $4 million. He should be the next to go. There's no point in keeping him on this team. Kevin Byard will save you $7 million. If you want to hold on to Byard, I'd take a look at Cole Kmet and say, hey, kind of where if it means getting Mac or I'm sorry, not Mac, if it means getting Garrett or getting Parsons or one of those big name guys, why wouldn't you take a look at that? That's just smart GMing. I love Cole Kmet. I think Cole Kmet is a piece that can be a future piece. Are you telling me we can't find Cole Kmet again? The people who are so upset about the Cole Kmet conversation, are you telling me we can never find Cole Kmet again if I'm able to create $90 million in cap space? Shout out DJ Spawn. Said Garrett or Mac, I would love to have on the team. 100%. Appreciate you for supporting with the super chat, man. We got to get a sound for whenever somebody super chats in. Maybe it's it's JC. Let's see. We got anything for a super chat here? I don't know if we do. Nah, that's when we say something suspect. That's just normal. I don't know. We got to get a super chat sound on. Clap it up. Yeah, clap it up. Yeah, a little clap it up. A little clap it up. Ant the big homie said, I heard the same thing about Greg Olsen and we never found him again. The difference with Greg Olsen, though, was Greg Olsen was emerging as a top pass catching tight end when we moved on from him. You know what I mean? Like that to me was that's why that move didn't make sense. Greg Olsen was literally becoming one of the top pass catching tight ends that we had on that we had. You know what I mean? And then he goes on and all of a sudden, like you took Greg Olsen in a moment where he was a solid pass catching tight end. You put him with a legitimate quarterback for a couple of plays and then you were like, we don't need this guy. And here's the thing that like everybody gets mad about me saying that. Everybody gets mad about me talking about Cole Kmet possibly being moved on from. How many of y'all have watched the tape and seen that Cole Kmet is wide open on a play? The quarterback that we think can be the best quarterback, the quarterback that we think is the top guy from this draft that will end up being proven right if you get him an offensive line, he didn't throw to Cole Kmet. I'm not telling you that you're wrong. I think Cole Kmet's a solid tight end. I'm fine with him being here. My thing is, if he's the difference between getting Myles Garrett or not, I'm moving on from him. But I'm fine with Cole Kmet being here. But we're not on the football field. We all like Cole Kmet. We all feel like he can be a good piece on this team. The quarterback who distributes the football to players on the field didn't throw him the football. In a season where you needed to throw the football to the underneath guy more times than not. Is there a rapport issue there that needs to be addressed by Ben Johnson? Is there a usage issue there? Seemed like he was open quite a bit, especially when Thomas Brown took over. Like, I think that's the question that you need to ask. I think that's the question you really need to ask. Is there a rapport issue with your quarterback and the tight end that you currently have on the team? Daryl, do you think they move off of Braxton, Pat? I think Braxton Jones is probably here because I don't think that I don't think that going into free agency, they're going to look to sign somebody who is a left tackle. I think they're going to focus on the interior of this offensive line. I think you're going to draft somebody, but you're not going to want to put that guy out there on an island. Kelvin Banks does not seem like a left tackle in this league. Will Campbell, I think, maybe has the aggression to play left tackle in this league, but the concern on him is very similar to Kelvin Banks, the arms issue. Do you take Josh Simmons that early? I don't like taking Josh Simmons in the first round. I know we did it in the mock draft yesterday. Nice mock. But I don't like taking Josh Simmons in the first round because here's my thing with Josh Simmons, and we really – the biggest question I have is you're excited about a player who has all the measurables, has all the intangibles, but whose best 5 games came this season before he ends up getting hurt, before he got into a game versus elite pass rush. By the way, I saw Mike Green reset the pass rush consistently, reset the line of scrimmage consistently in that first round. I'd take Mike Green. But hey, to each their own. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Nathan said that mock was terrible. Well, all right. Like I love when most comment that and it's like, what do you want me to do? Like this, that's how I felt about the mock draft. It's how I would build the team. It's a good thing none of us are GMs. You know what I mean? Like we did also get an A- on the mock. We did also get an A- on the mock. It was a nice mock. Baki says, honestly, I can see Braxton Jones at left tackle and either Campbell or Banks Jr. at left guard, Dahlman at center, Trey Smith at right guard, Darnell Wright at right tackle. Here's my thing. Get a side of the line that's elite. To me, if your center to the right side is elite, you're in a better position because now you have a specific side of the field that you can run the football to. If you create the numbers game to the left and you get mismatches on that right side, you can now run the football on the right side consistently. There was no run for Caleb Williams this season. When we sit there and talk about 68 sacks, yeah, you want to know why? Because it was predictable, because they were passing. It was very predictable because they were passing. Want to know why? Because every time they tried to run the football, DeAndre Swift's going the other direction. You got to be much more consistent in running the football to create that play action game that Caleb Williams operates so well. And every few times that you were able to do it, I think that that's kind of what we saw there. Let's keep this thing moving along, man, because I know a lot of people want to talk about the Ian Cunningham conversation. Hit that like button if you have not done so. Subscribe to the page. Leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. If you're just now getting here, the Bears did cut. If you're just now hearing this, I'd be a little bit surprised. But the Bears did end up moving on from DeMarcus Walker and Gerald Everett today. And those are two names that you kind of expected to get moved on from, and no surprise there, creating almost $80 million in cap space. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page. Like I said, before we get into this Ian Cunningham topic, we do want to listen into a word from our sponsors. Appreciate y'all for showing love. We'll be right back. Cue the R music. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching the show. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Aura. Have you ever done a Google search on your own name? You'd be surprised what pops up. Your full name, email address, home address, health records, your relatives. It's all out there. And that's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests just for me. Cleaning up my information not only helps reduce the amount of spam I get, but it protects me from hackers who could use that information to help them access my social media, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. It's really simple to set up. I don't have to download several apps or go to things like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft, but you can get all of that in one place with Aura. I get everything at one affordable price as well. You may already have one or two of these tools, but not having Aura is like leaving the front door locked while leaving the back door and windows wide open. For you to be able to take advantage of Aura, we got a special deal for you here today. Stop data brokers from exposing your personal information. Go to my sponsor at https:/aura.com/the Windy City. Again, that is aura.com/the Windy City to get a 14-day free trial and see how much of your information is being sold. Welcome back. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Paul Harris. I'm drinking on whoever's paying. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of whiskey, though. A little whiskey. A little unnamed whiskey. Always looking for a named whiskey on this podcast. So if you ever want to drop a name, you ever want to send some money, yeah, I mean, love to have your name on this podcast. Just talked about the Bears being close to $80 million after two big cuts here. Save you about $10.7 million. DeMarcus Walker is out. Gerald Everett is out as well. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Let's get back into the football conversation, my guys and girls out there, or whatever you identify as. Another name that we thought was going to be a big move for the Chicago Bears was Ian Cunningham going to stick around? And the Jacksonville Jaguars decide instead to go another direction by going after James Gladstone. And I think this is interesting because Ian kind of gets, for lack of a better term, jerked around in this whole situation because of, what did he do? 5 interviews down there in Jacksonville? Right, I'd guarantee you when this comes up again, they're going to have a tough time getting guys to interview after putting them through all of this. But Ian Cunningham will remain here in Chicago. My question to you is that a good thing? Is that a good thing for the Chicago Bears moving forward that Ian Cunningham is here? Because Ian Cunningham has been the voice in the room a lot of times that has kept Ryan Poles from trading up, being too aggressive in the draft. That has been the kind of voice in the room that has kept him from maybe spending too much currency. But the question is, right, is he also the guy? Because we always hear about the good moments of that, keeping him docile in these moments. The question for me is he the guy who's also telling you not to be aggressive in moments where it's time to go out and get a starting center? Is he the guy who's telling Ryan Poles not to go out and be aggressive when it comes to being to finding guys on the offensive line? Is he the guy? Right, we always hear about the good and we attribute all the bad to Ryan Poles because listen, the final decision's on Ryan Poles, the final say's on Ryan Poles. You have to put that on him. But is he the guy also telling Ryan to be conservative in those moments? And so for me, I think that is the question that you have to ask, right? Like, if you are you happy that Ian Cunningham is staying here in Chicago? And it seems like most Bears fans kind of want this group to see it through. They want to see what Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham can do together. I think that a lot of people kind of look at the Cunningham situation and say you would have wanted those 2 third-round picks to be able to add more to the team, but you also have been put in a great amount of you also have been put in a position where you have a great amount of draft capital for your team already. So it's not like you're in a bad spot with the draft capital that the Bears have. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, I do think that there is that question on, is Ian Cunningham staying a good thing or a bad thing? And for me, I would lean, it's one of 2 things, right? By the way, over 400 in that shit. 400. We got 274 on the YouTube side, man. Can I get 200 likes on the video? Somebody commented in and was like, don't disrespect the YouTube watchers. Well, I respond to the people who comment in the chat. I also love the people who hit that like button. Can you hit that like button? Let's get over 200 likes on the video, man. 137 on the Twitter side. Let's get 137 retweets on the video as well, man. Appreciate y'all for showing love. This show only grows if you guys help it to grow, man. That's why we're here for you. My big question right now with Ian Cunningham is he affecting the front office positively? Now, on a personal note with Ian, when I saw the Duval and all of that and kind of what Liam Cohen is and how they've set up, you got to think they're getting ready for the draft combine. Ian Cunningham was not going to be able to come in there and bring his own scouts in. They've already started scouting the draft. So you're working with guys who clearly couldn't draft the correct way because how many pieces are already in the building that you look at and go, ooh, all right, well, that didn't develop. That didn't work out. Like, unless you just think that Liam Cohen is going to be the end all be all of developers, he's going to get the most out of everyone who is in the building. How do you go into that situation and say, no, I feel comfortable where in trying to build a team with guys who were already bad before? You know what I mean? That's the only thing for me. So the fact that Ian Cunningham is sticking around, I'm not mad at that. I don't feel upset about that. I do have some questions on kind of how much of a role he plays in this front office. Are you the guy who is making things a little bit more docile? Are you the guy that Ryan goes to when he's trying to be aggressive and and you kind of are like, nah, let's play this safe? Like, is that who you are? Because it seems like Ryan wants to be aggressive, and maybe this is taking the pit bull off the leash here this offseason with that now opening up the money. But I do have question marks on who Ian Cunningham is in this organization. Shout out to y'all in the comments, man. Boggy said, honestly, Ian's thing is indifference for me. I get that. It's an assistant GM, right? It's an assistant GM. I understand it. Say Shy City said, I don't think Ian's voice will be as loud this year. Now that that's Ben Johnson now. You still want people to feel involved and be collaborative, right? Like you're not doing this if you're not bringing Ian back if he's going to disrupt it. Right? Like what? Like I get, right? You don't want him to have the job, but I don't think Ben Johnson comes in. I think there are preferences that you go towards, just like you did with Flus. Listen, there's it's not a surprise why we have so many DBs on this team. It's not a surprise why we have so many people on this team on the defensive side of the ball that have been drafted. It's not a surprise that you have all of these names that are really good names on the defensive end. You know what I mean? Like those are the things that, to me, you have to look at as, well, they did this for Flus. Why wouldn't they do this for Ben Johnson? That's my big question there. That's my big question there. Alan Pena dropping a hey Pat. What's going on, my guy? How you feeling? Can we spend the entire draft on Texas play? I'm not mad at it. Listen, I love a Jake Majors. I think he's a dog at center. I'd take a Jake. It seems like Jake Majors is going later and later and later every time I look at the mock draft. I think Jake Majors is an absolute monster. Go get him. Ricardo the Real just said, I question it as well. How does he become a finalist multiple times and not get the job? Would have preferred the extra 2 third rounds. Well, he did. Listen, he did get the job in Arizona. He didn't want the job in Arizona because of this reason. He didn't want the job in there. He did get it. And then he turned it down. And Arizona ended up going a different direction. Brad Williams just said, I barely want polls here. Ian Cunningham don't mean nothing to me. Baki, they got Jake Majors currently as a 5th rounder. Yeah, bro. When I started looking at him, he was in the 3rd. He has dropped. I don't know what mugs know. Did he do cocaine or something? What happened? Does anybody know what happened with a Jake Majors? Did he start? Did they catch him with a little booger sugar or something? What's going on? I'm my big takeaway from Ian Cunningham still being here is sometimes good people get looked over. And I do think Ian Cunningham is good people. I do think that he does a good job. I think he fits well with Ryan Poles. I think that he moves. I think that he does keep him kind of on track and on the plan. But my major question is just, are you holding him back too much? Do you know when it's okay to let the pit bull be a pit bull? That's my major question. Do you know when it's okay to let the big dog be the big dog and not to deter him from there? But we'll see, man. We'll see. I think this is a good start here. And I think there's a lot of signals that the Chicago Bears are looking to be aggressive in free agency. I think that there's a lot of signals here that the Chicago Bears are looking to go out and get the big name guys, or at least try and get the big name guys. And to me, that is the most exciting part of free agency. When you're going to be aggressive, are you going to get the guys? Nico said, thoughts on drafting Judkins? I like Quinshon Judkins. I think that he is a balanced player. I do believe, I know JC said this yesterday, that he didn't believe that he was a 3-down back. I do believe that Quinshon Judkins is a 3-down back. I think maybe add a little bit more weight. I'd like to see him around that 225 weight when we get to the actual combine and start getting some measurements in. But I mean, listen, Quinshon Judkins is somebody that you have to look at as, first off, an end zone threat, somebody who can make a house call. He had a ton of attempts. You end up splitting his time, and his touchdowns didn't go anywhere. You ended up splitting his time, and his touchdowns didn't go anywhere. Like, that's the biggest takeaway for me. Like, you think about it, right? Quinshon Judkins in his sophomore year or I'm sorry, his freshman year at Ole Miss was 274 carries, 1,500 plus yard season, 16 tutties. His sophomore year at Ole Miss, he is 270 plus ish carries again, 1,100 yards, and 15 tutties. His senior year at Ohio State, where he ends up becoming a national champion, he's less than 200 carries. He is still a 1,000-yard rusher while sharing the backfield with Henderson. And he's 14 tutties. 45 touchdowns in a 3-year span. Yeah, I'd take that guy. And I believe he's a 3-down back. I think you still can split time. I think you can create that same scenario that you talk about with Monty and Gibbs in Detroit. You can have guys that split time there. But to me, Judkins, I think, is a little bit higher on my list than Henderson is. Because of what you saw before he had to split time, he was an elite back. Like I think you have to take that all into account. It's not just the one season that we saw this year of Quinshon Judkins. It is the guy that he was the previous seasons before. I would go Caleb Johnson or Trayvon Henderson. Listen, Trayvon Henderson, I think, is a dog as well. You can't discount him. But to me, it's the size and the weight, right? There's probably a 3-inch difference in height. Now Trayvon probably similar in weight, but I think that you can get more weight on Quinshon Judkins. To me, Judkins reminds me a little bit more of it's a good comp for him. I don't want to go crazy, right? Listen, Omarion Hampton. Yeah, listen, Brad, calm down now. Don't get me excited, dog. Don't get me excited with Omarion Hampton now. Omarion Hampton reminds me. I said this before. He reminds me of freaking Matt Forte. Omarion Hampton reminds me of Matt Forte. He just does. Throw your daggers where you will. But he reminds me of Matt Forte. But yeah, I would go Judkins over Trayvon Henderson, but it's something. It's both are good. Both are going to be good backs in this league, and both will benefit from having an offensive line in front of them that hopefully the Chicago Bears build before they end up drafting either one of them. Oh, here we go. It's Genty. Everybody's in on the Genty. We're not taking Genty. Bro, I'm not going to lie to you. How many of y'all are like here in the city for all the Genty people? How many of y'all are here in the city? Because I'm willing to put a little wager up for Genty if y'all are here. We'll throw a little event and we'll put a little wager up for Genty if y'all are in the city. I'll put a poll up on there, right? Put a poll up on the YouTube side. Cause y'all love Ashton Genty. And listen, I think he's gonna be a good back. But it's no way I'm taking a running back in the first round. It's no way I'm taking a running back. I'm from Chicago, but I live in Champaign, Illinois now. Okay, I see you. It's no way they take Genty, bro. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. If Ben Johnson wants Genty, Poles is getting him. What makes you think Ben Johnson wants Genty? That's my thing. Y'all think because he took Jahmyr Gibbs early, he wants Genty. Y'all realize he was a part of the draft rooms that drafted offensive linemen in the first round. Right? That's just my thing. Okay. Out West Illinois, get the O-line and free agency package picks for a star edge. You know, I want that. You know who I want. Oh, you know who I want. Southside resided, but I don't want to run him back until at least the 4th round. Hey, you take a running back before you take, I don't know, a punter. Oh, punt out here. Maybe you'll be in a good position. Hey, man, I still got to go do an update video on the Chicago Bears podcast, man. Make sure that you guys tap in with us over there as well. So I got to hop up off of here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and showing love. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. We're going to talk more Bears football over on the Chicago Bears podcast. Also tap into today's episode with Yurko. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bear down, one love. Appreciate y'all for tuning in as always, man. Peace.